So is there something we can, I maybe would like to revisit this again because the courts did not receive, I mean, I have a copy that said they received it and none of it's with the file. And I just feel really.
Ma'am, if you
like
have
Shanghai,
evidence that you would like to use, then you can certainly try to admit that evidence through a witness. You can't just hand me documents.
Right, you mean like the court? I mean, as a witness, submit documents through a witness, which would be
Through their
the court.
testimony.
Okay, well, so I can have a witness?
Do you have any further questions for this witness?
Not at this time, no.
Okay. Mr. Ojak, any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Any further witnesses from for the people?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Miss,
May I have a witness?
let me finish. Miss
Oh,
Dehart,
I'm sorry.
do you have any witnesses or would you like the opportunity to testify?
Yes, I would like to testify and I have a witness. Well,
So who
witness
are
I
you
can't get a
calling?
hold of right now. I'd like to call my husband, Kevin Dehart.
Okay. Does he have another device or something he can?
I'm right,
He's right next to me. Is that what you want?
I'm right here.
Okay.
And please tell me if my window.
Can you
is
raise
too
your
loud.
right hand, sir? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Lower your hand, state and spell your name for the record, please.
Kevin Dehart, D-E-H-A-R-T. The first name is K-E-V-I-N.
Go ahead, Ms. Dehart.
Okay, first of all,
No,
No,
sir, you
Oh,
can't
what?
just start talking. Ms. Dehart can ask you questions.
oh,
You're
I'm sorry.
the other witness. You can't just talk.
I'm sorry, I thought you said Mr. Dehart, not Mrs. Dehart. Were you in the car with me in November 10th, 2021,
Yes, I was.
as I was driving? In your professional opinion, with over 33
I'm going
years,
to object to the comment about
police-
professional opinion, Your Honor. And we'll stipulate to the fact that he was present in the car. The officer already testified to that.
Sustained.
Yeah. Okay, and did I do any illegal driving during that time?
No, you did not.
And at none, well, there would be none, so that would cover absolutely everything that was handled on that day, including the line markings that the do you believe that the officer's statement about where all the line markings are on the road and where the dotted lines happen in the road and where the lane ends and the usage, does that include that all of that was done legally?
Yes, it was.
And do you believe that the officer has changed his story from the hearing that we were in?
I'm going to object again,
Oh,
Your
wait,
Honor.
that was.
We're
that was
talking
when I
about
was talking
testimony
about.
and it-
I'm sorry. I just remembered
Sustained. Ms.
that.
Dehart, please
Yes.
move on from the informal hearing.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I forgot about that. So do you believe that the officer's testimony today is not accurate and not true to what he told us when we were pulled over?
Objection again, Your Honor. She's going back to the same thing that you just told her not to do.
I'm gonna get a lawyer.
Yeah, I think I need some representation.
This is,
I don't know how to handle it from now, Your Honor, because I think I've clearly
was I here?
well, yeah.
Are you in a through?
Do you
We've
have
all
any? Do you have any?
We clearly stated that I was.
Ma'am,
my
it's not
driving
your
was
opportunity,
accurate, but-
ma'am, you have to listen to me. It is not your opportunity to testify. You will have your opportunity. Do you have any further questions for Mr. Dehart?
I feel I've covered that. When we went to the courts and asked about an appeal, and we followed all these proceedings, and we were told that there would be an appeal. And that documentation was delivered to the court.
Miss
And they accepted
Dehart,
it on
about
behalf.
Miss Dehart, do you have any questions about the November 20th?
November,
Mr. Dehart,
on November 10th?
I'm sorry,
Okay.
November 10th.
Yeah.
Do you have any further questions for Mr. Dehart about
No,
November?
I'm going to go ahead and go along with you, and I'm going to say that there is nothing else at this time that I'm just
You gotta
all
give yourself
shooken.
a
I'm
second.
totally shooken up. Okay. Totally shooken up because okay, I'll stop there to try to be more appropriate to you. I'm sorry.
So no further questions for Mr. Dehart, is that correct?
Thank you. Yes. No.
Mr.
further
Ojek, do you have any questions for Mr. Dehart?
No, I do not.
Okay. Ms. Dehart, would you like the opportunity to testify?
Yes.
Can you raise your right hand? Swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I swear.
Lower your hand, state and spell your name for the record, please.
Lisa Dehart. Lisadaehart.
Okay, go ahead, ma'am. You can tell what happened that day in your own words. That
I was
day.
pulled
does not
over
have-
by, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said, stick to what happened that day, not about what happened at the formal hearing.
Thank you. So that day I was pulled over by Officer Belknap, and he gave me a ticket that was for impeding improper lane use, going forward in a right turn only lane. And that's why I was getting a ticket. And I've proven, I sent, I went to the court with photographs that they made copies of and accepted on the court's behalf, which for some reason you do not have, which clearly proves that that is not correct. So that's all I have to say for now.
Mr. Ojek, do you have any cross-examination for Ms.?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Ojek, do you have any further, I'm sorry, Ms. Dehart, do you have any further witnesses?
I would have a witness from the courts to show that I submitted evidence, but I don't have a way to contact them right now, so I don't know. Do you suggest anything on that?
I can't give you legal advice.
Okay.
And where's the picture?
Then can I have more time to get that witness together that can find out what happened with the documentation that was left with the courts?
No. Mr. Ojek, do you have any closing statements?
Just, the officer, this wasn't an accident. He was waiting there for a specific reason by 2 different phone calls. He gave her a break. The ticket speaks for itself. It's not written for improper lane use or anything else. It's written for impeding traffic. And maybe it was marginally impeding traffic because the car only had to slow down when they pulled in at the last second. But that's impeding traffic. She got a break, but she was impeding traffic. That's all.
Do you have any closing statements, Ms. Dehart?
Your Honor, I'm very sorry that we have to take up your time on this because I think that you have not been told the truth in this case. So my closing statement would include that I wished the court proceedings worked and you had the paperwork in front of you that you need, and that the officer's story has changed in 3 different times. And I just don't know what else to say. I just would appreciate that you dismiss this and we can have our money returned, because as everyone knows, money is very tight these days. And living with an officer for 38 years, I appreciate and respect everything about the officers. I was the one that was insulted when he made comments about himself, because that is definitely not professional. And I guess to state it very clearly to you, I would like you to any of the complaints that he doesn't have, there's been information about there were complaints, but he has no evidence of that. And I clearly, again, state to you that I had my husband, an officer, sitting next to me, and we talked all the way through about how I was driving. And I tried to explain, if I may, that on that particular day, I tried to explain also to the officer that there was a road rage that happened in Clinton, and I was scared because this guy was following me. I tried to explain that to the officer that day. In fact, the road rage vehicle that was, I'm just going to say road rage and not try to be dramatic about it for you. I know you can interpret that when that officer's road rage truck had me pulled over on the truck went by hooping and hollering out the door. And I pointed it out to the officer. Maybe I should have asked the officer that question. I'm sorry, I missed my opportunity to show him that was the car that was harassing me on the road. And, we were just trying to be away from that. Times are hard these days and things are very, very rough. We certainly don't need some kind of road rage out there. And I honestly feel confident telling you that I did not do any illegal driving. And I've already paid my fine. So there's, it's just a matter of you reversing. I thought it was an appeal, so I don't quite understand. I didn't understand that it's a whole new court case, as you've explained to me now. So I don't feel prepared. And so in either case, I would have asked that you either, I don't know what I'm asking for, dismiss the ticket and realize that you could just dismiss the ticket or give me more time to gather what's the point in, I'm gonna have to pick up that paper again. You already told me not to. What was the point of my doing that? Because, you can sit there and say, I don't have that in front of me. And I agree with you. You don't have, that's not your responsibility to have that in front of you, but it is for the court officers that all work for you. And it's just not there. So they can get together. The officer can totally change his story. And there's just nothing I can do except to appeal to your sense of fair play. And I don't know what else to ask. If I've completed a statement, I guess I should just end there. And thank you for your time.
I would like to make a final
Mm-hmm.
comment, Your Honor. I'm not going to go into about everything that happened before. There's a lot of things you just said, which I could really point out. I want to make two statements. What she provided to the court, if it had been provided to you, court staff would have been violating the rules, as they're not allowed to, she's not allowed to provide evidence ex parte to the court without providing it to the prosecutor too, and that would be done in trial. My second statement is regarding all the things she has said several times about Officer Belknap. I have decades and decades and decades of experience, and I actually know Officer Belknap very well, and I consider him one of the most professional and best officers I've ever had contact with. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Ojak.
Can I answer to that?
No, you can't. The way that it works, the prosecutor, because they're bringing the case forward, they get the last word because they have the burden of proof.
Well, because.
No,
yeah,
ma'am,
okay.
the hearing's
I got it.
concluded.
Okay.
After listening to the testimony from Officer Belknap, as well as the testimony from Kevin Dehart and Lisa Dehart, I wanted to address a couple of things. There was a lot of conversation about a photo that Miss Dehart
Oh, sure.
that she submitted to the court. It is correct. It wouldn't have been appropriate for her to not also include the prosecutor in that communication. Nonetheless, it became clear through her own testimony of what this picture would have reflected. And from the officer's testimony, it doesn't sound like this picture had any relevance to what this impeding traffic ticket is about. So had it even been submitted, I'm not sure if it would have been appropriate to bring forward in this case, because what the picture seemed, what I believe, or what it seems that Ms. Dehart was saying that the picture was portraying had nothing to do with why she was pulled over. So I'm not sure that picture had any relevance. So I believe it wasn't actually submitted. Ma'am, you cannot speak.
I'm sorry.
Ma'am, you cannot speak. As far as the testimony, we did have testimony from Officer Belknap about what happened that day, what he witnessed. He was on the lookout based on the dispatch had given him some information about to be on a lookout for a vehicle, that there were some complaints about a vehicle. So he was certainly paying attention to what was happening at that intersection. He witnessed Miss Dehart's vehicle sort of force merge herself beyond where the lane had actually narrowed, despite there being two other signs indicating that the right lane was ending. And Officer Belknap also indicated that he witnessed the vehicle behind Miss Dehart's vehicle that she cut in front of had to slow down. After Officer Belknap's testimony, there was no testimony offered from the other witnesses that testified about what exactly happened at that intersection and that merge. There was no explanation or alternative facts given to what may have happened at that intersection that perhaps Officer Belknap may have confused or may have missaw. There was just no testimony given about what happened at the intersection at all. I did find Officer Belknap's testimony believable, and I do find the prosecutor has met their burden to show that there was enough evidence by preponderance of evidence that Ms. Dehart had committed the civil infraction of impeding traffic. And I will find her responsible for that. Fines and costs were assessed previously and they were set as a bond in this matter. So the court will apply the bond to the fines and costs.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And we are adjourned.
And Your Honor, is that it? That was the last thing. There's nothing else?
Yes, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.